Crossroads program. My name is Rebecca Johnson. I'm the coordinator for the program, and we're so pleased that we're really excited about having you all here celebrate with us. We've been serving displaced homemakers that are 35 and older who are separated, widowed, and divorced in this community for almost 27 years, since 1983. If you're not really familiar with what a displaced homemaker is, this is usually a woman who, after managing a household for years, is forced by financial necessity to obtain employment to become self-sufficient. You'll see some Crossroads graduates with name tags on that say, "Ask me how Crossroads changed my life." Please take a moment to engage them in a short conversation to hear how our graduate in our program has changed their lives and how they feel about themselves and their ability to showcase themselves to the world. We are so grateful to the Palm Beach State College for the long relationship that we've had, and we would like to give thanks personally to our president, Dr. Dennis Gallen, and our provost, Dr. Maria Vallejo. Mr. Dan Williams, who is the director of TRIO and Special Populations. And also to the Crossroads Business Partnership Council, wonderful ladies that have assisted the program since its inception. We also are grateful to the support of the Women's Initiative at Fox Rothschild Law Firm, and we celebrate our second year of continued partnership. Thank you for believing in our mission and for helping us achieve our goals of empowering women. So some of you have already had the opportunity to engage in the activities and the good food that we've had in Humanities. And so after our program, we'll meet back over there and enjoy some more of that time. So please join us again over back at Humanities. We have a wonderful evening planned for you. Our keynote speaker is Liz Quirantes from Channel 12 News. And she'll share her story. And before that, we would like to let you hear about some of the stories of our Crossroads graduates and how it's impacted their lives. So, without further ado, I will ask for Julia Sanchez, our first speaker, who is a Crossroads graduate, and then we'll have Faith Agic, as well after that Natalie Bailey, and then Betsy Unger.
Oh, welcome everyone. Please forgive for my nervousness. I thought we were going to be in that little bitty room. There was only going to be 30 people. I was so impressed, but I'm up here now. So I just want to say again, my name is Julia Sanchez. I am a Crossroads alumni, class of 2006. I want to tell you a little bit of just how Crossroads got my life back. I have a question for you though. Can you identify the road that will lead you to happiness? Can you pick a road that takes you to your destination? I would like everyone, for the time being, just to shut your eyes for a moment and just listen. Total sheer blackness. That's where I was before Crossroads. After Bobby, Rebecca, and Joel infected me with their amazing love and caring for others, showing me the road to happiness, and giving me a destination here at Palm Beach State. And I'm grateful for that. I really am. I started coming out of the darkness. You can open up your eyes again, and you can see the light, because that's how I saw it. I saw the light. I can tell you more about what Crossroads is. I can share with you the many positives that Crossroads has given me. Maybe I'll share that with you one day, when we all have lots of time. When I write that book on Crossroads, I can tell you how they gave me my life back. Right now, I just want to read a simple poem that I thought was very appropriate for right now. It's called Life Still Has a Meaning, unknown author. If there is a future, there is a time for mending. Time to see your troubles coming to an ending. Life is never hopeless, however great your sorrow. If you're looking forward to a brand new tomorrow. If there is time for wishing, then there is time for hoping. When through doubt and darkness, you are blindly groping. Though the heart be heavy and hurt you may be feeling, if there is time for praying, there will also time for healing. So if through your window there is a new day breaking, thank God for the promise, though mind and soul be aching. If with this harvest over there is grain enough for gleaning, there is a new tomorrow, and life still has a meaning. I thank you all.
Hey everybody, my name is Faith Ahick, Crossroads participant. What a happy and energetic group and hall it was over there. It's just contagious. I'd like to say thank you too for the beautiful arrangements, the decorations, and the food. Just very humbling just to be appreciated that way. This program and the graduates that have gone through it really means a lot to have that there. Thank you for being here. I'm a grateful participant and recipient of the Crossroads program here at Palm Beach State College. I'm also a pre-nursing student here about to make application to the nursing program. With the theme of this year's event being Women Inspiring Women, I wanted to offer up a quote by Helen Keller. Many persons have a wrong idea of what constitutes true happiness. It is not attained through self-gratification, but through fidelity to a worthy purpose. We all know Helen Keller had her challenges, and she also found profound purpose and meaning in her suffering and led the way for many doors to be opened for many people. Bobby, Rebecca, and all of those who have been critical to the success of the Crossroads program substantiates this truth by the leg up they have given to so many women beginning again. Like so many who have come through the doors of Crossroads, I arrived here in a state of climbing mountains and clearing hurdles. While moving forward and carrying on, I drew upon the strength and wisdom of a few of the women in my life. Some of the most inspiring leaders I've ever known are women who are or were selfless, focused, and rich in integrity. One of those leaders or pillars in my life is here with me today. She's a wonderful woman, very, very close to my heart. She is my treasured Aunt Kay. Her incredible example to me all of my life is deeply imprinted on my heart and in my mind. I've never known or really even heard of anyone with the same type of gracious and responsible character that she endlessly puts into action. It has truly been a privilege of learning from her for so many years. She is passing the torch on to me and to all women in her life. I have faith that we won't let her down. Thank you so much for being here, and may the road we individually travel be just bumpy enough to keep us humble and courageous. Thanks so much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Natalie Bailey. I came to the cultural programs in 2009. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. And I do remember the day I enrolled. I was crying, and I felt unworthy. It was one of the moments, as the program is called, it was a crossroads for me. But with the help of Michelle and the ladies in my group, I saw my life in retrospective. I'm sorry about that word. But yes, I saw that throughout the years, I've overcome many obstacles. From being an scared immigrant in this country, being a victim of domestic violence, and then became later an MBA student with no job, and a teenage son that he said that he's not demanding anything, but he does. Through the program, I realized that if I could overcome any obstacles before, I could do it again. That was the aha moment that I had. And that everything that I have lived through my years has a purpose. And the purpose of those were to go stronger and to help other women in similar circumstances. A year and a half later after the program, I found a job recently in human resources, and I continued my education, enrolling in a PhD program. Thank you. Crossroads gave me the opportunity to see more than just an unemployed 35-year-old lady with a language barrier that I saw in myself every time that I went into the mirror in the morning and I say, I cannot find a job because I have an accent. I recognize that at the moment when I was in the program, I learned who I truly was. A human being full of life and with a splendid smile. That I can achieve anything that I want to. And that the only thing that I need to do is work on my goals. And I will see the results, no matter what. But also, that nothing from the outside, nor anyone, can decide my worth, my valor, and that I'm the only one that can choose how to live my life. Recent events that happen to children help me to remember my true purpose in life, and that is to construct and build a new world for children. For them to learn the basics, which are just love, compassion, mercy, kindness, respect, and hard work. To achieve those things, I need to be a leader and a role model. I need to transform myself, help others transform themselves, but also we need to change the world. As Mahatma Gandhi said once, we need to be the change that we want to see in the world. Or as one teacher a few years ago told me, we need to live, or I need to live my life by design, but never by default. Thank you for your time.
And I just wanted to take a minute to thank Rebecca, Bobby, and Joel, who had a tremendous impact on my life. At the age of 39, my life had reached a crossroad. As a single mother of 3 children, it became clear that I needed direction, but having been out of the general workforce for many years, determining the way to find that direction seemed very difficult. Fortunately, the Crossroads program at Palm Beach State came into my life. Through the teachings at the Crossroads workshop, my goals became clear and a new direction for my life began to take shape. With a plan to acquire a degree in human services, the summer of 2007 found me working steadily towards that end. During my journey at Palm Beach State, the Crossroads program continued to guide my path and provide encouragement and support throughout my endeavors. As a result of participating in the Crossroads program, it became possible for me to gain work at Palm Beach State as a supplemental instruction leader in Prep Algebra 1 and 2, English Comp, and General Psychology. This gave me the means to provide for myself and my family, but it also gave me the opportunity to give back by helping other students towards their goals. Subsequently, my career path led me to find part-time employment in the Campus Counseling Center, where the opportunity to help others is part of my daily routine. The Crossroads program seeks to give women in transition a helping hand. self-esteem, inspiration, and the foundation they need to re-enter the general workforce. It helped me to find within myself strength and a sense of self-worth to find a meaningful career direction. And it will continue to assist other women who, like myself, need a new hope and outlook for their lives. After over 25 years of service to the women of our community, the Crossroads program has become a haven of reassurance, reinforcement, and inspiration on a generational level, and will hopefully be able to persevere in its mission to help women beginning again for future generations. And now, it is with great pleasure that I introduce the next generation of my family and one of my inspirations, Rihanna Under, who will sing Beautiful by Christina Aguilera.
Hi, I'm Rihanna Under, and I'm going to sing I'm Beautiful by Christina Aguilera. Every day is so wonderful, but suddenly it's hard to breathe. Now and then I get insecure from all the pain, feel so ashamed. I am beautiful, no matter what they say. Words can't bring me down. I am beautiful in every single way. Words can't bring me down. So don't you bring me down today. To all your friends, you're delirious, so consumed in all you're done, trying hard to fill the emptiness. The piece is gone, left the puzzle undone. That's the way it is, 'cause you are beautiful, no matter what they say. Yes, words can't bring you down. You are beautiful in every single way. Yes, words can't bring you down. Oh no, so don't you bring me down today. No matter what we do, no matter what we say, when the sun is shining through, then the clouds won't stay. And everywhere we go, the sun won't always shine, but tomorrow we'll find a way. All the other times, 'cause we are beautiful, no matter what
Touched all of us. We forgot the tissues. Thank you to every one of the speakers and graduates this evening for sharing your stories and your inspiration to us. And you are why we do what we do. Now for our keynote speaker, WPEV Channel 12 News anchor Liz Quirantes. Tell you a little bit about her. Liz has made a mark on her community. She anchors the 5, 6, and 11 p.m. newscast for CBS 12, but remarkably finds the time to be active in many worthwhile causes, encouraging children and supporting causes that improve their lives is a passion for Liz. One project that has claimed her heart is Forever Family, a nonprofit charity that works to find homes for foster children. Each Tuesday, Liz features a foster child on her 5 p.m. newscast. Those reports have generated hundreds of calls and resulted in many adoptions. Liz is also on the HOPE project, which provides low-cost mammography to the underserved and uninsured women of Palm Beach and Martin counties. Funded solely by grants and donations, Liz was instrumental in fundraising that allowed the mobile mammography van to go digital. Another project Liz is involved in is making strides against breast cancer, donating her time at many local events, serving as MC for fundraisers and airing stories about breast cancer, both inspiring and educational. Her awards have been many. Most recently, Liz was honored as the 2010 Hispanic Woman of Distinction for South Florida, the Women in Power Award from the National Council of Jewish Women, and the Community Leadership Award from Delta Kappa Gamma. Liz was also thrilled to win the first place trophy in Dancing with the Stars Ballroom Dance Competition, benefiting the Kravitz Center Star Series. A graduate of the University of Miami, she holds a bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism and a master's degree in telecommunication. Liz is married and resides in Jupiter with her husband, son, and daughter. Please welcome Liz Quirantes.
About speaking to you tonight, I was very honored, but a little perplexed. I understand what an amazing program Crossroads is. We've heard from our guest speakers today, helping women who've experienced major life changes through divorce or loss, displaced homemakers who are either underemployed or trying to look for work. But I wasn't sure how I fit into all of that and how my life could relate to yours. But one of your very wise organizers told me that sometimes the differences we may see on the outside are not so different when we share our stories. So tonight I'm going to share my story with you, my life, and how it came to be that I end up in your living room every night for the past 20 years. And I think to understand how I got here, you need to understand where I've been and where I come from. A lot of it has to do with my parents. My parents are from Cuba, and they were engaged when the revolution started and got married right after Fidel Castro took power. They quickly realized the lies they had been told by the communist leader, and they knew that they didn't want to raise their children in those conditions. I realize now what my parents did was so incredibly brave and selfless. My mom had just set up her new house as a new bride. My father had a good job, and they were both college educated. My father had an accounting degree, and my mother had a teaching degree from the University of Havana. But in 1962, they left everything. They left their parents behind, their siblings, their extended family, their wedding gifts, their jewelry, their photographs, their cash, their home, their car. And they came to this country with nothing but a change of clothes and the name of the church outside of Philadelphia that agreed to sponsor them. To tell you the truth, to this day, I can't look at a can of Spam or a box of powdered milk, and it's not because I had to eat and drink it. It's because that's the only government assistance that my parents got. when they landed here, Spam, milk. They were on their own, and I can't even imagine how scary that was. But they did get help from that church and the wonderful people who gave them clothes and jobs and hope. At 22 and 28 years old, my parents started all over again. New country, new language, new life, even new names. Actually, when it came to documentation, the immigration officials asked my mom what her name was, and she told them, Maria Cristina de Jesus Alonso Blanco de Quirantes. So she thought about it and she said, you know what, I'm in America now, just make it Maria Quirantes. That's enough. And that may be the reason why we three kids never had middle names. My father figured with the last name like Quirantes, that's enough. But life wasn't easy for them. My mother took a job as a seamstress. The other women in the shop tried to teach her English by teaching her songs that were popular on the radio. It was 1962, so she learned in English and in life that big girls don't cry. And you gotta walk like a man. Meanwhile, my father enrolled at St. Joseph University in Philadelphia. Their degrees from Havana were not recognized in this country at the time, so they had to do college all over again. By day, my father was a college student. By night, he was a janitor at a local school. And the school cafeteria cook took a liking to my father. She was this rather large African-American woman, and she felt very sorry for the skinny Cuban man who emptied the garbage, cleaned her counters, and mopped her floors at night. So she started leaving him little leftovers at night, a little piece of chicken and some mashed potatoes. And at the end of her shift, she'd tell him that he was too thin, that he needed to eat, and he needed to improve his English. So she would practice with him. And once in a while, she would leave a little dish of pudding for my dad, wrapped in plastic, and he'd bring it home to share with my mother. Little tiny white bowls with gray trim on them. My mother still has about 6 of them. And I guess my dad forgot to return them. But they're very, very precious to her. Even now, almost 50 years later, growing up, I never knew that those little tiny dishes that I ate Jell-O and pudding out of symbolized so much struggle and so much kindness for my parents. After about a year, this cafeteria cook got more comfortable and confident and started giving my dad advice. You know, Julio, in this country, we have something called credit cards, and you cannot be tempted to use those. That's the devil calling. People spend more than they make. I know it's tempting, but you gotta save your money, be responsible. My father would quietly and politely listen. He never had the heart to tell her that he was a CPA. He knew all about fiscal responsibility and budgets, but he let her feel important. And so it went. They worked, they pinched pennies, they did without. I was born, my brother was born, my sister. And my mother took care of us during the day and stayed up late to sew for very rich women at night while we slept. Once her mother arrived from Cuba and could babysit us, she was finally able to get a full-time job and enroll in college again. My father finished his degree when I was about 7 years old. He got a job as an accountant. Being Cuban in the 70s wasn't exactly great for his career, but both my parents were very hard workers, and they knew that all the effort they put getting their degrees again, mastering the English language, working day and night, putting their children's needs ahead of their own would pay off someday, even if they had to ignore the discrimination. I don't think that I ever saw any of that discrimination. I just felt different, and I hated being different. All I was aware of was that I was growing up in the land of gringos in Pennsylvania, and I was the one with the dark, frizzy hair in a sea of blondes, and I had a funny last name, and I had parents who spoke with ridiculous accents, I thought at the time, and I wasn't allowed to do anything that my friends were allowed to do. For instance, I don't know if you know this, but Cubans do not believe in sleepovers. Why are you spending the night at a friend's house when you have a perfectly good mattress here at home? They so didn't get it. Cuban parents don't let you walk around barefoot, which was ultimate cool when you were 13 in the 70s. You'll catch a disease, a virus, you'll cut your foot, get gangrene, and amputate it. And Cuban parents don't believe in children-only birthday parties. What? You're not inviting abuela, tío Pepe, padrino, la hija de al lado, the neighbor next door, and your cousins, Lourdes, Olvita, Maria Lisa? We did not have a lot of luxuries growing up. No, just one car, no fancy vacations, very minimal holidays, modest furnishings, some toys, not like my friends had. But we had a clean home, clean clothes, even though they were from Goodwill or homemade. We had hot meals, a lot of love, a lot of affection, and a lot of attention. I look back now and I see how much time my parents spent with us, even though they were both working full-time. On weekends, my dad would wash and fix the cars and then call us to come look under the hood and teach us how to change the oil, the air filter, how to push and start the lawnmower. My mom is the one who taught me how to cook. She would spend the weekend preparing and freezing meals for us to have the following week. And she taught me the secrets to making the best arroz con pollo, picadillo, carne con papa, and spaghetti sauce too. They taught us how to balance a checkbook, how to stick to a tight budget, the importance of not getting into debt. They explained, which explained why we did without, and why we had to stretch every dollar and invest in the future and in our family, and not frivolous things like toys, much to my dismay. We did get an allowance, and 10% helped to go to the church every week, to our church offering. What they instilled in the three of us was, first and foremost, unflappable faith in God, the importance of a good education, a strong work ethic, and above all, family first, no matter what. They worked and saved to pay for each and every member, still in Cuba, to come to this country. Their parents, siblings, spouses, cousins, nieces, and nephews. It took 15 years, but no one was left behind except the ones who chose to stay. When I was 16, my father was laid off from his accounting firm in Philadelphia, and he saw it as an opportunity to come to Florida and to join his brothers, who each had orthopedic stores in Miami. Ortopedia Quirantes is very well known in Miami, not here. But for the rest of our family, it was a very traumatic move. For my mother, it was leaving an established life of almost 20 years and start from scratch all over again. For me, it was awful. By this time, I was in high school, and again, money was tight, and my parents were starting a new business, and it was rough. I was in charge of my younger siblings, and while they worked long days and most weekends, I worked several jobs in high school. While my parents built that business, I was concentrating on college and dreaming of a career in journalism. I did attend the University of Miami, and with my family income, it was easy to qualify for financial aid. I majored in broadcast journalism, and I was in such a hurry to get started on my career that I took extra credits and I graduated early. My first job was working for a community newspaper in South Miami. I got paid by the word. I learned to use a lot of adjectives. There wasn't much money. I did learn a lot about working with professionals, and I learned about the impact that my stories could have on a community and on individuals. It was my first lesson in making a difference in people's lives and in not making enough money to pay my bills. My next job was as a reporter for a cable company in Miami that broadcast in 2 languages on 2 separate stations. It was a great learning experience, but it was a really tough job. I had to carry my own equipment. I had to shoot my own stories in English and in Spanish. I had to write them and edit them myself without any help. I'll tell you a quick story about one of my first days on the job. I had just been trained on the equipment, and I was extremely proud of myself. And I thought I was this big hotshot reporter going to cover something. I was taking the equipment out of my car, and it all weighed more than I did. I had a big recorder on one shoulder. I had the camera, extra batteries, and I put on the light belt. It's a battery belt that puts the light on, okay? I was so proud of that. I strapped it on, and I got, big shot reporter going to cover a story. I took 2 steps. I was so skinny, the light belt fell down. and almost broke my toes, and that was the end of feeling like a big shot. Now, during this time, my husband Craig, who is here tonight, and I were working to put him through law school, so money was tight, which seemed to be the story of my life. But I remembered the values that my parents had instilled in me, and I knew that someday always work would pay off. I got a big break in 1991 when I was hired by Channel 12 as a street reporter, and I finally had a cameraman. But the stakes were higher, and the workload was tougher, and the hours were longer, and the bar was set higher, and there was more pressure and more expected of me. I was working at a broadcast station, a network affiliate, and this was not local cable TV. So at some point, a network executive must have spotted me because I got a call from the CBS affiliate in Dallas. They wanted to hire me as a reporter, and this was huge. And what made it even bigger was the fact that it was actually a job that the network was paying for, and it was part of a program to train and home grow minority correspondents. So I interviewed in Dallas and also in New York with CBS, and I was offered the job. And it was settled. We were moving to Texas. Yeehaw. Well, when I told my boss, he said, wait, don't sign anything. Our weekend anchor just quit yesterday, and I want to offer you a job. So I still remember going to TGI Fridays with Craig and writing on the back of the paper placemat the pros and cons. Did I take the Dallas job, or did I take a promotion here in a much smaller market? Did I see myself as a network correspondent flying from city to city, covering huge stories? I'd be at the center of everything on the evening news. It had been what I was trained for. It was what I had dreamt about and what I was working for. Or did I want to stay close to my family, raise children here, try to be a big fish in a much smaller pond? And ultimately, believe it or not, it came down to what kind of mother do I want to be? And you know what my choice was. Since then, I've had 2 children. Our son, Casey, is 16 years old. Our daughter, Emma, is 13. And it's been a struggle to balance this career and my family and be the kind of mother that I want to be. I've always worked nights, so I've never been there for my kids after school. I've missed plenty of basketball games, gymnastics classes, and band recitals. And I have beaten myself up for that a lot. And I thought about quitting my job and thinking it would make me a better mom. But the good thing about working nights is that I got to go on every field trip. And I volunteered in every classroom. And I could stay home when they were sick. I only needed a sitter for a few hours in the afternoon until Daddy got home. And I've been able to cook a meal before I go to work and come home for family dinner every night after the 6 o'clock news. And we talk about everything. We spend our weekends together as a family. We go to church on Sunday mornings. And they've been dragged to plenty of my speaking engagements and volunteer activities, and they beg me, please, Mom, not tonight. Because we do everything as a family, and I want them to know that they have to give back to this community, whether it's helping with a canned food drive, or painting a house with me for Habitat for Humanity, or even helping Mom at the Jerry Lewis MDA Telethon, which they did for many years. I look at my 2 children and I see how they're growing up to be exceptional, excellent students, devoted Christians with loving hearts. Emma still calls me every day after school to tell me about her day, and she can't wait for me to get home at dinner time to discuss the latest middle school drama. And Casey sometimes waits up for me at midnight for me to get home to get my opinion on something or talk about something that's troubling him. He is right now, don't tell him I told you, but he's getting to know a new girl. And when she's very cute, and when she asked him about his relationship with his parents, he said, oh, my mom and I are really close. I tell her everything. And I realize now that I wasted so many years feeling guilty and believing that because I worked outside of the home that I was less of a mother. I was wrong. And I wasted so many years thinking I should quit my job. When I look at some of the emails and some of the letters that I've gotten from viewers, and I look at old tapes of stories that I've done, I realize that I can make a difference as a role model for young girls who have big dreams, or for my own children, to show them that you can have a career and you can still be a good mom. And I can bring attention to important community causes just by lending my name and my time. I can raise money for life-saving treatment for a child by doing a story. I can comfort a community during a hurricane and translate vital information into another language when Spanish-speaking viewers are so scared and they can't understand. I'll tell you another little story. When my daughter was born, nobody liked her name. We named her Emma. His dad complained. He said, I'm not going to call her Emma, I'm going to call her Elizabeth. My mother's like, I like Lauren, I really don't like Emma. It's like, you people, that's her name. So that night after she was born, my dad spent the night with me. He was rocking her and looking at his beautiful granddaughter. And he said, Liz, do you remember that cafeteria lady when I was the janitor at that school? And I'm like, pudding lady. I remember her. And he goes, you know her name was Emma? And that kind of makes full circle. All right, I'll leave you with a funny story now. 2 weeks ago, my mother-in-law visited, and Emma and I took her to the Gardens Mall just to walk around. And we walked by the Louis Vuitton store, and Emma was drooling in the window over some handbag that I'm sure was thousands of dollars. And she goes, Mom, can we go in and look? And I looked at her and I said, absolutely not. I hope you realize, Emma, that I will never, ever buy you an expensive Louis Vuitton purse like that. So my mother-in-law says, oh, Emma, you're going to have to find a rich husband so you can buy. My sweet Emma pipes up, actually, I plan to go to college and get a good job and buy my own purse. I hope you now see that when I die, I do not want my tombstone to read, here lies an award-winning journalist, or here lies a beautiful newscaster who reported a lot of important stories. Well, you can keep the beautiful part. I want it to read, here lies a devoted mother, a loving wife, a dedicated daughter, a compassionate soul who brought joy and hope and inspiration and positive change to the people around her. And hopefully that's decades and decades away. Thank you for listening. Behind the camera, what it takes to be a journalist, those are usually some of the questions, like, who does my makeup and hair? Me. I don't have people. What's for dinner tonight? Actually, I'll tell you what was for dinner the rest of the week, because tonight Casey had to take his sister out. Actually, last night, honey, wasn't that the new lasagna recipe with turkey sausage and a white bechamel sauce that I tried as an experiment? And before that was mahi-mahi with a citrus sauce and orange-scented couscous and gravy. Yes, Mama taught me well. What time is dinner? Any other questions? Yes?
Question for you. Coming from a Cuban background, how is it adapting your children as you're raising them here now? Do you see yourself thinking back of how your parents raised you and having mixed feelings?
I have a whole other speech on that topic. I will just tell that I remember one day putting Casey to sleep, who was about 5 years old, and I had only spoken to my children in Spanish, trying to get them to speak both languages, and he would answer me in English. And he said his prayers in Spanish, and I said, Casey, you have to speak to me in Spanish. And he goes, why? And I said, because you're Cuban. He goes, I'm what? I said, you're Cuban. He's like, Cuban? How did that happen? So, yes, it has been difficult when the rest of the world is speaking English. And yeah, what was the other funny story? It was that one, and, about the sleepovers. I don't let my kids sleep over. Sorry, some things don't change. And they got tired of trying to explain it to their friends so that they would just tell them, no, I can't sleep over, I'm Cuban. They learned to adapt, they learned to live, they love arroz con frijoles. Picadillo is one of Casey's favorite meals, so it's been a challenge to try and keep our culture, but I think they're proud of it. Emma's always complaining that she has blonde hair. She wants to be more Cuban. She wants to have brown hair. But I just wish that they spoke a little more Spanish. But it's been a challenge, but I always remind them how important their heritage is, and also tell them their grandparents' story. It took my parents a long time to talk about their struggle with me and to share that, because how painful it was. But I make it very clear to my children that they have to know where they came from. And that affects how I am as a mother, and I think it will affect them as they become parents. Yes, sir?
When Emma's 15, are you going to give her a quinceañera?
Oh, Emma is already talking about her quinceañera. She has decided she wants to go on a cruise. You know, those Miami cruises, the quinceañera cruises. She has already planned for her abuela to make her white dress. Oh, yes, she's going to look like a very gringa quinceañera. She is very, very excited about it. I'm glad you asked. Yes, we're saving for that.
Good.
Yes.
Are you able to go back to visit Cuba yet, or will you be able to?
I actually did in 1992. I don't know if you remember back then in Cuba. That was right when the Soviet Union had just pulled out of Cuba. So that's when things got really bad. I think people in this community weren't aware of how bad things were. Because my news director sent me to Cuba without permission. I had to go like undercover with a photographer with a back then a VHS camera. And we had to go through the Bahamas, and it was, again, we posed as tourists. And my parents were having an absolute cow because they knew what I was getting into. And of course, you know, what was I in my 20s? I didn't know any better. And I just saw it as an adventure. And I was very excited to go. Well, within 3 seconds of setting foot in Havana, my photographer got into trouble because he was a Cuban national. He had a passport. I mean, his passport said he was born in Cuba. So that automatically set off alarms. Again, we snuck into a tourist group posing as tourists, and then they caught on very quickly that we were not normal tourists, that we were videotaping everything, and we got into a lot of trouble. They called the police, and they were going to throw us into jail there, so it was a big, hairy mess. And when I came back, my news director, it was only like 48 hours that trip. When I got back, he's like, so, did you have a good time? What? He didn't understand, and I think at that time, again, it was 1992, I ended up out of those 48 hours doing a 5-part series on what life was like, how tourists saw the island, how people, and I ended up finding the man who introduced my parents, Carlos. So he felt responsible for my birth. So he took me around, and he showed me his ration card. I had a really good inside look at the time. His ration card of how he could get like 1 piece of chicken a month and a piece of bread and milk. And he had run out of cologne. You know how Cubans are with our cologne. It had to be perfumada, yeah, you know. And so I went to the tourist store and I just bought, because I could buy it. I bought him a bunch of perfume, and we were walking the streets, and I bought him guayaberas, all the things that he couldn't get. I just spent all of the money I had to buy him things. And we were taking a trip around the street, and he saw a little sign, because the stores there for the Cubans, it was like a little hole in the wall, and it said, queso, cheese. And he's like, oh my gosh, Liz, do you mind if we just stop? I haven't had cheese in months. I'm like, are you kidding me? So it was really eye-opening when I came back with this report, because this community at the time was not aware of how bad things were in Cuba, so I'm not sure I would go back. Yes?
I'm assuming that you don't have a normal 8-hour day. Can you
No.
give us a kind of quick synopsis of what an average day would be like for you?
I don't have an average day. It's always very, very busy. I take my daughter, Casey's driving now, so he can drive himself to school. I take my daughter to school in the morning, and I'm either, well, doing what a lot of you do. I go to Publix, and I go to dry cleaners, and I run errands, I make dinner. Sometimes I have events, luncheons that I have to do. Today I was busy writing this speech for tonight. I had to come in early for work because I had a meeting to discuss changing the 11 o'clock news. Tonight I'm here with you. Normally I go home for dinner. It's crazy when I get into work at 2:30. I have to be in makeup. I shoot a promotion, a tease for the 5 o'clock. I go into a 3:15 story idea meeting, what we're going to do for the 11 o'clock. I start writing for the 5. I write the headlines. I write top stories. I have to be on the air before 5 o'clock. I appear throughout the newscast. I answer phone call. I mean, it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. And people, people have this idea that, oh my gosh, it's so glamorous, and you have people like doing your hair and makeup. No, I even run my own teleprompter. I don't even have. It's a lot of work. People don't realize how much we do behind the scenes, and then I have to look all cool and yes, nothing's wrong. No, you always have me on my feet. Anyway, anyone else? Yes.
When you look at your life, where you're at right now, how do you function, or how is it working with other women of color, and what are some of the difficulties you face as a Cuban American, and how does that tie with other communities in the news field?
Well, when I first got to this community, there weren't very many Hispanics working on television. Actually, I think I was the first Hispanic anchor in this market when I got that job as a weekend anchor. Since then we've had more. I told you that I had never really seen the discrimination that my parents faced, and to give you an idea of how clueless I was, when I got that job as the weekend anchor, there was another reporter at the station, a pretty blonde girl that wanted that job too. And I found out from the news director that after it was announced I got the job, she went in there and she said, tell me it's because she's Hispanic. And when he told me that, I started crying because it had never crossed my mind that that had anything to do with it. So I've been very proud of my heritage, and I've been very open about it and speaking Spanish wherever I go, but it never crossed my mind that I'd be discriminated against. So I think that was very, very eye-opening. I do a lot of events for Hispanic organizations, African American organizations, and I'm very happy to do so. I don't know if I answered your question, did I? Yes, no, yes, okay. Anyone else? Yes?
Did I hear you correctly say that you write your own news stories?
I anchor a lot of news, so no, I don't write every single word that comes out of my mouth. I try to proofread every single word that comes out of my mouth. Some of those scripts, remember, I have 20-something-year-olds writing those scripts who are not always aware of what a mortgage is or complicated issues like our federal budget. But no, I can't possibly write all that copy, but I do write some of it. Usually I write the headlines that you see at the top of the 5, and I do write what we call VO bites, video and interviews, and I do a lot of reports. We do special reports and things like that. I do my Forever Family every week, so yeah, they keep me busy. Anyone else? Yes.
What led you to choose a career in journalism?
Probably because the question is what led me to a career in journalism. Being such a nosy body, I don't know, but I know that what really inspired me was when I was in high school. My parents, of course, wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor. What parent doesn't? And I had a teacher in high school in AP English who really noticed that I had a knack for writing, and she really encouraged and fostered that talent. I never thought about making a career out of writing, and I became the editor of the newspaper, the school newspaper, and I just loved it. Once I got that assignment, and I could tell people stories and cover an event, and then regurgitate it and explain it and inform people, that I got that bug. And I don't know when I decided TV. That came, I think, in college, but it was basically the journalism. In the news, I just loved it. It was a fire. Just, I'm sure, like everyone else's careers, and what inspires you. You just have this little spark that's what I'm meant to do. So it was in high school.
One last question.
One more question. Who's the lucky yes ma'am?
I recently attended the refugee services consultation in Miami, and Ariel Sigler Amaya was there. He's one of the recently prisoners from Cuba. One of the things he mentioned was that he still, even though he's here now, his brother still in prison in Cuba, and he would like to continue pursuing the freedom of all the Cubans in Cuba. Working with refugee services, what advice do you give to the recently immigrant, which is their story is very different to yours and to your family, because there's a lot of services out there for refugees. I've gone to the Office of Refugee Session here in Public County and Broward. What would you advise to that new arrival that a lot of people think is because of economic reasons and actually still political reasons?
What my advice would be to someone who just came from Cuba, I'm not sure that the advice has changed in the past 50 years. I think the advice is the same in this country. The way to make it is through hard work. Nobody just hands you anything. And your destiny is within you and what you make it. You don't just get lucky breaks just because. You have to work hard, and that's what I'm trying to instill in my children, is that, you know, they're more fortunate than I was, of course, but they need to study, they need to work, they need to be good people and give back to the community. And I'm trying to give them examples and show them that everything comes full circle. What you reap is what you sow. And I don't think that my advice to them would be any different. Just maybe the process is a little more complicated now, and that they should take advantage of every public service that's out there to help them navigate the complicated circumstances that we find ourselves in today in 2011.
Touching story and funny. She's funny, I love it. We just wanted to give you an appreciation from the Crossroads program at Palm Beach State College. Thank you so much for coming and listening. Our evening here in Stage West, so please go back. It's the Humanities. We've got more food, more exhibitors. And if you'd like to know more about Crossroads, we have a table out with some brochures, or you can find someone with a name tag and ask them a little bit more, or contact us directly. Thank you so much.
Yeah.